Hey, what's going on, everyone? And welcome to day 15 of 365 of my idea year 2025, where I share a different idea, different thought, just randomness every day, or try to do it every day. No guarantees. So far, good, except for one day where the video failed, but besides the point. I wanted to talk about something today that I feel super privileged to be able to just experience and live this way, and that is life on two wheels. Uh, I have always preferred to travel via two wheels, whether that was bicycle or motorcycle. Uh, for my whole life, really. Even in my 20s, early 20s, in the 1990s, I was a bike messenger in Boston. I rode my bicycle everywhere. And even after that, for years and years, I rode my bicycle everywhere. And then rode a motorcycle for a little while. And then there was a period of my life where I didn't at all. I didn't have a bicycle or a motorcycle, and I commuted by car every day, and that probably coincided with some of the worst times, of my life. Now, granted, I lived in very cold parts of America back then, so really commuting on two wheels year round was never really an option. I mean, I know people who are hardcore and they ride bikes and motorcycles all year. And when I was a bike messenger, I rode a bicycle in the winter to deliver packages for years. So, you know, it's not like it was out of the realm of possibility, but it's kind of rough and it takes a lot out of you to commute on two wheels in cold, freezing, wet conditions. So now that I live in a tropical country and motorcycle is my primary mode of transportation, I ride all year. Even through the rainy season, I ride, and I feel so fortunate. And I want to just talk about why for a minute, because I know this will be different for everyone. Some people just really love cars, they love to be in their car, and so this will kind of relate for them to the car. But for me, on the motorcycle or on a bicycle or whatever it might be, it could be one of those little electric scooters, I don't know, but two wheels is two wheels to me. There's like a sense of enjoyment, a sense of wanderlust while you're on the bike riding. And now I'm fortunate my commute is really short. It's about 15 to 20 minutes depending, through the city, through Bangkok. But it's just such a great route, and I cut right through, and it's like sort of that perfect amount of time in the morning. You're riding into work, and it's just you feel great, and you get there, and you're relaxed, and you feel good. At the end of the day, you jump on your bike and you ride home, and you enjoy the scenery, and you enjoy just the ride, and sort of get in that headspace about it. And the same was true when I was a bike messenger in the 90s. I'd jump on my bike and I'd ride all day. And there are points where you're just sort of, without trying to sound so like Zen, philosophical, Big Lebowski dude type, you feel kind of one with the road almost. And there's really something special about it. And I've done, even in my free time when I'm on vacation, I go for motorcycle trips with friends. And on the weekend I might just go out for a ride and jump on the bike and spend a couple hours on the road just to enjoy it, just to take it in. And I feel so fortunate that I get to do that every day, every single day. And it's overwhelming sometimes, like how happy something so small can make you. And I can remember, when I lived in Ohio, I was an engineer, and I would dread my commute in the morning, in my car, sitting behind the wheel, stuck in traffic. I remember, there were times like waiting to get off my exit on the highway, and just like sitting there kind of the mundane life of commuter. And it was one of the worst things. Even if I had a horrible day, I dreaded my commute home because I hated being in the car. You know, beautiful day, winter, it didn't matter, I just hated it. And now, even like, I'll wake up in the rainy season and it'll be a monsoon outside, pouring down rain, and I have a smile on my face. I throw my rain gear on, throw my roll top bag on, and hit the road, and I love it. It's fantastic. And the environment and just everything about it it brings challenge, but it also keeps you grounded and keeps you sort of in a headspace that's really nice and relaxed and sort of makes you ready for everything. Now, and the thing is, though, I know not everyone's like this with motorcycles. Some people get really stressed on a bike, and I have friends who used to love to ride in the US, and now they don't even touch their bikes here until they bought a bike in Thailand. They don't touch it in the city. It's just not for them. So I feel fortunate that I get to do something I love every day as part of my daily routine that I enjoy, and it puts me in a space that I really like mentally. And then when I have free time, I get to do that same thing with friends or by myself and get even more joy from it. And I sometimes struggle to articulate it. I just want to sort of talk about it. I recently started rereading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is a fantastic book. I read it 30 years ago now, maybe more. And it's definitely a book about philosophy. It's a book about motorcycles. I'm like maybe 20 pages in. I don't even know. I just started. But everything about that book still rings true to me. And it's interesting that, this book that took such a philosophical look at motorcycles and riding a motorcycle and sort of wrenching on your own bike and enjoying the journey. I didn't realize at 15 years old when I read it, the impact it would have on me, or maybe had on me back then. I thought it was a cool book. It was alright. It was a little hippie-ish maybe. And today I read it as I'm, just like I said, just 20 pages in, and having so much motorcycle experience now, having done big long rides, massive trips, sort of like things that push the limits of bikes, even like the types of bikes I was riding. Definitely not high performance bikes, but do things that kind of can test you. You start to really appreciate the philosophical side of that book a lot more. And I'm excited to keep reading it, to finish it. I got so much stuff on my reading list at the moment that's loaded onto my Kindle that I'm excited to just get into. But yeah, very, very fortunate to be able to ride every day. I know a few people who watch these are riders, pretty avid riders. What do you guys think? Do you want to be able to ride every day, or do you like keeping it for something you do on the weekends and you have your car or your truck for the rest of the time? I know my buddy Steve is doing the Scooter Cannonball in the States this year, and I really wish I could join him, but the dates just don't line up. But maybe I need to plan like a big rally type trip out here, or event out here, and he can come and we can ride. Seth, you too, man. What's up? You coming out? So yeah, let me know. What do you guys think? Is something like this, is it weird? Am I completely off base here, thinking like, hey, I really love this commute methodology or modality is such a big part of my day, such a big part of my mental health. It's interesting. I know a few other people who really love to ride, and it's interesting. It does have its own language, its own vibe, its own thing to it. And man, is it Wonderful. And like I said, I'm fortunate to live in a tropical country where I have weather that essentially allows me to ride all year. Of course, my bigger trips taper off a bit during the rainy season. Right now, we're in the midst of winter here in Thailand. Winter being like 80-degree days for freedom units, 80 degrees, like 20, 18 degrees C. And we can get out, and it's a little chilly in the morning when you ride, but there's definitely something to it. I can remember taking my buddy Troy on his first motorcycle trip up to a dam in Nakhon and he had never really been on a trip before, but Troy's the type of guy that always wants to experience things, and he was struggling a little bit with, he felt like he had to keep up, or he felt like, oh, am I gonna be able to do this? And at our first stop, we stopped for like coffee, like an hour in. Especially you're riding with someone who's like their first time, you want to make sure they're comfortable on the road, that you're stopping enough for them. And he was telling me, he's like, oh, I'm nervous. Like, what if you get too far ahead? What if like I feel like it's something I can't do? And I was like, look, you have to ride your own ride, right? Like, don't think that you have to follow me everywhere I go or do every little thing I do. You're on the road. This trip is for you as much as it is for me. Ride your own ride. And he said after we had that conversation at the next stop, he said, that really got in his head, and he really felt more comfortable and more at ease the rest of the trip because of that. Kind of crazy side story. On that ride, I was riding my Honda Grom, which is a 125 air-cooled bike, and my favorite bike, by the way. And he was riding a Honda Wave he had borrowed from someone, which is a 125cc underbone with like one of those centrifugal clutches. And it had a basket on the front, which is a super common accessory for the Honda Wave here in Thailand. And for some reason, we stopped for gas, and he took his phone out to message his girlfriend, and instead of putting it back in his pocket, for some reason, he threw it in the basket. But the basket on the front of the motorcycle was like a wire mesh basket with big holes in it. And so his phone, it was flat for like a minute, but ended up falling through like 2 minutes after we left. It was like the middle of the night because we were going really slow. And we had taken this weird detour up into the edges of Khao Yai to visit a piece of land that his girlfriend's family owned. And so he lost his phone like halfway through, and without like catching up to me to tell me, he turned around to see if he could go find it, and we ended up losing each other. It was a big mess. I couldn't get in touch with him. I was so nervous. And his girlfriend ends up like calling me like an hour later because I'd sent her a message. And he had run into a taxi driver and asked him if he could use his phone to call his girlfriend, to tell her to call me, to let me know that he was okay. But yeah, he absolutely loved it. He raved about that trip for months and months after that. He talked about it all the time. And every now and then my phone will pop up with memories from that trip. And I really, really appreciate those types of things. Anyway, now I'm just rambling. Or as my buddy Callum, another bike guy, would say, like a yarn, having a yarn. Or a waffle, I'm waffling. Yarning or waffling? Oh, now I'm confused. Anyway. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow.